Tēnā koutou katoa, and welcome to the Lesson Learned podcast, brought to you by Ako Mata Tupu. Every week, we talk to educators from across our country, Aotearoa, dedicated to serving our young people. I'm your host, Billy Revel, and today I'm here with Liam. Kia ora, Liam.
Kia ora.
Yeah, give us a little bit about yourself.
Ko kakepuku te maunga, ko waipa te awa. Ka mihi ahau ki ngā tohu whenua o te rawahi. Ka mihi hoki ahau ki te tangata whenua o te rawahi. No oturahanga ahau, e noho ana ahau ki Tamaki Makaurau. Ko Karen tōku mama, ko Mark tōku papa, ko Neve tōku tuahine, ko Liam McKenzie tōku ingoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, bro, it's so good to see you, and thank you for making the time to come and hang out with us today. I thought we could start maybe talking about your journey into teaching and things like that. Like, where did you grow up and what school did you go to, and when did you know that you wanted to be a teacher, I guess?
Yeah, cool. So, as I said, Oturanga was home growing up and still home for mum and dad. So I went primary school there. I went to a real rich private school, which is kind of crack up now. Got a lot of mockery from my principal when I turned up at Otahu, but that was cool. Moved to Auckland, did an engineering degree. Probably about halfway through, realised that that just wasn't going to do it for me. I think the lack of care and interaction with people was sort of turned me off. And then I kind of always had in my mind, both my grandparents had been teachers, and it kind of been this, I guess, thing that had been pursuing me, but I kind of had just been pushing it off to the side. And then the Teach First thing came up, and I was like, what the heck, I'll apply. In a couple of weeks, I had a job, which I knew nothing about. Still don't know anything about physics, but it's okay, I'm learning. And so I kind of just jumped on board with no expectations really, and then I've kind of been working out in reverse why I am where I am, if that makes sense. Yeah.
What was kind of like your drive to get into engineering in the first place? Like, was it an expectation that you had from parents, or?
I think it's just the natural, I liked achieving. I was good at math and physics and all that kind of stuff, and it was the natural stream of things to do med or engineering or law or whatever. And I just cruised along with that. I'm not the most decisive person, so I just cruised along with that. And like academically, it was really cool, really challenging, and met people who work for Google and stuff, and real bright, amazing people. But yeah, just sort of realized that the heart side of it, wasn't where I was at.
Yeah. So like there wasn't much interest in working at Google, or kind of like that kind of side of it, or?
Yeah, harder. I guess the couple of placements I did felt like I was just trying to make another 2% for an already massive corporate firm. And I just struggled to. I guess I'm the kind of person who invests a lot in what I'm doing with my mahi, and so if that's not something which is representative of my values, I guess, then it kind of feels you feel it in your heart, like things aren't sort of lined up.
Yeah.
And so you want to sort that out, and so now I work twice as hard probably as I would if I was an engineer, but things feel lined up. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And kind of, do you still have friends and things like that from the engineering world? And yeah, and like, are they quite interested in what you're doing in your teaching space as well?
Yeah, hard out. Like, I think it was a kind of thing of like, really, you're doing that? But like also, of course, like the ones who know me well know that on one hand, from an academic point of view or money point of view, it doesn't make sense. But in terms of what they know of my character, and I think it's probably helped a lot of my friends appreciate how rigorous teaching is, and how much of like an actual profession it is. You know what I mean? It's not kind of like up at 9 and go home at 3 and print off some worksheets and keep the wheels turning, which is
have the school holidays off.
Hard out, which has been good, I reckon. Yeah.
What would you say is like the most rewarding thing about kind of teaching at the moment?
I'd say two things. I'd say I'm only, because I'm in my third year teaching, the kind of, what's the word? The privilege of being involved in a long-term relationship where you see someone grow immensely is awesome. So like, say with my soccer boys, I had those same kids for maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like literally physically, they're twice as tall. But also their maturity, how good they are on the field. They kind of, without you trying to, they become like your sons. And you kind of, it's like, you put a seed in the ground and you never envisage you're going to get a 30-meter tall Cody tree, but it's that kind of, that's just starting to dawn on me now,
Yeah.
And then, the other thing is just, I'm someone who loves learning, and I'm kind of like, I'll just rabbit hole into stuff I find interesting. And if you can convey just a smidgen of that to a kid, and you see that they're not just connected with you, but they're like stoked on this idea about particle physics that you've latched them onto, then that's like, because you've connected them into something which is so much bigger than yourself. Yeah. I'd say, those are probably the couple of things that really buzz me.
In terms of like physics at your school too, like are you one of lots of physics teachers, or like is it something that's quite prominent in the school? Or
no way.
Like is there a big department of physics teachers?
No, we're fringe as. Lucky there's 2 of us. I know like a lot of our mates in Ako, there's only one. So I've been lucky. I got another bro, Rob, who's the man, and he helps me out heaps. But yeah, there's sort of like, you can just about count on one hand the amount of senior physics students. So we're working at it, but yeah, we're pretty fringe at the moment.
Are you kind of seeing that kind of grow in your schools and things like that as well? Like, is there more of an interest in the physics subject?
Yeah, we are. It's wicked. It's been really helped. One of my colleagues, Sanho Huangbo, is teaching calculus at school. So in terms of like the kids, he's just getting excited there about numbers. They tend to be the kids that we see in physics. Yeah. And so I know like for year 12 next year, there's almost like twice as many kids signed up as we had the previous year. And so it's the murmurings are definitely there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So now it's just kind of on us to come up with the program, especially at junior levels, so that when they catch the bug, they've also got the skills to do really well, trying to marry the passion with the achievement. Yeah.
One of the things you touched on before, and I can hear the passion in your voice when you kind of talk about it. And it's interesting, because you are a maths teacher, a physics teacher, but also you look after the football kids, right? So there's a thing about going into schools and becoming more of the community and stuff like that. So like, I guess what like, how has that developed for you? Like, how did you get into taking the football team? And like, is there a massive, I'm assuming football, we're talking about soccer, right?
Yeah. I'm way too skinny to be a league player.
Like, how's that been working with the soccer players in their school? Yeah. And Otahu College, right? Did they have a football kind of club established? Or?
Yeah, again, like we're pretty fringe. Like when I turned up, we had one boys team for the whole school. Yeah. Year 9 to year 13. Yeah. Some people had boots.
Yeah.
Most people had shorts. Some of them were wearing my shorts. But it's been again, I kind of fell into it because it was like they needed someone to help out. Yeah. I managed football through uni, and so it was a skill I already had, somewhere I could kind of contribute. And then I think initially it was just a great way to get to know a whole lot of other staff. And, like the PE teachers, they run the school, so you need to get on their side one way or another.
Yeah.
But that was just a mean way to hang out with them and appreciate everything they do for our kids and for our community. And then slowly, I sort of realized how valuable it was relationally with the kids. I think initially it's real hard because I think I almost got my approaches wrong. Like in class, I tried to be super relational and super relaxed. And at sport, I tried to be super like dictatorial, like sprints, push-ups, because that's my nature. That's how I would train. Yeah. And it's like there was a total mismatch. So I was getting run over in class because I wasn't firm enough. Yeah. And then the kids were just completely ignoring me at football because they want to have fun. They don't want to do half an hour of shuttles training. So like once I sort of worked out that I needed to switch those up, and that the football was just the real relational context because they're all there voluntarily because they love it, not because anyone's forcing them to be in class. Then it's sort of started to flow a bit better, and this season's by far been our most successful. So
Yeah,
it's been choice.
cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting too. Like, I guess we talk about Russell Bishop's work lots in terms of like teaching to the Northeast and things like that, and like finding that balance for yourself too of like that dictator and also the relational kind of piece. So like the football, the coaching stuff kind of help within your classroom as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think the football thing's cool because you're not necessarily expecting outcomes within a year.
Yeah.
Right? You got a kid who's year 10.
Yeah.
And they're short, slow, not very fit. That's fine because you might have them for 4 years. So they don't need to be at first 11 level now.
Yeah.
They just need to like football, get on with you, get on with the other boys. You keep them in the system for 4 years, they'll turn into a really, positive contributor. Whereas in class, it's hard because you always got, I guess, the school pressure of needing to deliver results this year or in the next 3 weeks in the internal that you're doing. And so you have to mix a bit of both, right? You have to bring that long view from football into the classroom because, frankly, some kids maybe are just not in a space where they're ready to take the knowledge you're trying to help them with right now. But maybe you can give them other stuff. Maybe you can just affirm their value. Maybe you can get them connected with some others, whatever, So I guess it's a balance of taking some of that long view, but also being realistic about we have to get results.
So interesting.
To an extent. You have to be pragmatic to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think we're also talking about, it's interesting you talk about young people at football choosing to be there and not really choosing to be in class. Somewhere they have to be.
Yeah.
And then trying to make those places where they want to be is like really important. But how do we change a system where we do have to meet these metrics? I think I wonder about, standards, certain standards people have to meet or young people have to meet, and how do we guide them along? And it's interesting you're talking about trying to understand them as a learner, not just for the next 3 weeks, but for a good amount of time. But yeah, I really appreciate the work that you're doing in the schools and stuff like that, and it sounds really rewarding. We'll move into our next section here. It's a section that my producer Mike and I like to call this or that, or heads or tails, or I saw there was a new name in the email as well. It's called something, but I'll give you 2 options and you just pick one. Yeah? All good. Cool. School lunch or own lunch?
School lunch.
Oh, school lunch
free.
Is good.
No time to prepare.
100%. Before school, after school?
Before school.
Yeah? Wow, I'm like wanting to get home after school? You love it too much. It's too good.
You mean, well, no, I'd rather be at school before school.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That's what I'm most clear.
Don't want to stay after school. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Seniors or juniors?
Year 9s.
Nice. I'm going to turn them all against you now.
By 10s.
Teacher's pet or cheeky kid?
Cheeky kid.
Athletics or prize giving?
Prize giving.
I know you're a football man, but rugby or league?
League.
Nice. What team?
Warriors.
Well, all day. Up the waz.
Easy.
Wet weather or hot weather?
Hot weather.
Dragons or dinosaurs?
Oh.
Like if you had to fight one.
Nah, dragons.
Dragons all day. Sweet. Our next section is called all good or not good. Sweet. Banning cell phones in schools.
Good in principle.
Yeah.
Not in practice.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? What do you? Is it like more getting teachers to police another thing is going to be?
Yeah, definitely, and keeping it consistent and stopping it from becoming another squabble.
Yeah,
negotiation that you're having among all the other negotiations you're having every day.
Yeah,
like you can't wear the yellow Crocs, that kind of yeah,
for sure. Cool. Homework, all good, not good.
Yeah, all good. If
Yeah.
it's purposeful.
Yeah, me. There's like, I feel like also my school's not giving my kids homework anymore. Like, just expected to read and stuff like that. Like, what do you think are the positives of giving homework to kids? I think I know lots of positives.
Yeah. I think my big thing with it is I'm trying to engage the kids in their learning at some point outside of my class.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to turn up blank.
Yeah.
You know, like even if they've just thought about it for 2 minutes, then it's like somewhere in their neural pathways they've activated that piece of knowledge.
Yeah.
I think you have to be sensitive about how you do it and like very routine driven so that it's not something you're springing on them. It's something you're trying to make as easy as possible for them to complete. But yeah, I still think it's got a place.
Sweet. Headphones in class. All good, not good.
Depends.
Yeah.
I would say at the start of the year, no good.
Yeah.
But you know your kids.
Yeah.
Some of them just work better in their own world.
Yeah. So it's like better to kind of get them into a routine on track and then like allowing them some space to,
I reckon,
to do some of those other things. That's cool. Like one of the things that I'm interested with our young people at the moment as well, especially with all kind of like, there's lots of different information kind of going on. Like some call it misinformation.
Yeah.
Some call it alternative information. One of the things that is often called into, is this a real thing, is like the climate kind of stuff. Like, do you find that something that our young people are quite interested in? And I know that you were talking about earlier, you've been doing some planting of native trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's a tricky one because I think, to be honest, they're being whacked over the head with it from early school now to the point where it's just become another task, another chore. Obviously, there's a section of kids who are really engaged with it, who are always going to engage with it. But I do worry that stuff like that, like sometimes we go, climate change is a problem. And you tell all our kids about climate change, and it's like maybe the solution's a little more indirect.
Yeah.
You know, like, for example, the native planting thing where it's like, climate change is not the point, community is the point. We hang out, we have a lovo, we make some food, plant some trees, teachers are there, kids are there, parents come in.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the kind of kaiako is just imbued in what's happening. It's just a natural result of what's happening anyway.
Yeah.
To me, that's a better way to get at that kind of stuff if you're trying to impact people's hearts.
That's interesting. Because like, I think the function is the same, right? We're going out and we are 100%. Planting trees. But I guess if you're looking at that on paper, you're going to miss all of the good things that you're talking about, like the community side of things. Like, how do we create more spaces for our young people to engage in that community stuff?
I think you just have to model something which is cool and happening and just invite them into it. Like sometimes how I kind of think of learning, like almost at the start, you need to almost like trick your students into learning. And then once they realize how cool it is, they just cruise along with it.
Yeah. So
rather than going, you must learn this because this, and this, I mean, that's like a kind of an instant turn off for teenagers. It's sort of like, so for example, the soccer team, right, is an easy example. Because it's cool and it's social and the boys love it and they're successful, then of course everybody wants to be involved in that. And then them getting fit, them getting better, them hopefully learning some people skills is just a byproduct of them wanting to be part of an environment which is really cool and really obviously positive.
Yeah.
It's like the whole learning thing. Like if you can connect them to the joy of learning something new, of having a new piece of knowledge, of being able to do something today they couldn't do yesterday, then you've almost got them over that hump. I mean, it's a tricky thing to do. I feel like I'm going to spend the next 30 years working out how to do that for more kids, you know, but I feel like that's my kind of whakaaro around that at the moment. Yeah.
Are you finding it easy? So I can see how you see that with the football team.
Yeah.
I can see how you can see that with the community around growing native trees and the whole process of that. How do you find that in your maths class or your physics class? Like, is it the same, similar?
No.
Yeah.
Frankly, no, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the challenge is.
Yeah.
That's where it's so difficult. And that requires, a hell of a lot of thinking, because you even have to think like, how do staff operate communally? Because at the moment, right, we all have our own classrooms, which is great, has its benefits, and any kind of teacher can be self-sufficient, especially if they're only going to be here for 2 years.
Yeah.
They just do their thing, have all their own resources, do their own classes, move off to the next bit. And then somehow you're going to facilitate a community with the kids. I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? You have to sort of attack that problem from all angles. It's like you got to somehow try and help your department be more collaborative, help different departments be more collaborative, before you even start talking about how do we make classrooms a community experience for the kids who are coming into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I think, like, as a small example, like myself and Sanho, who teaches calculus, ran a holiday tutorial for about a week where we just said, anyone come in, we'll do a bit of calc, we'll do a bit of physics, whatever you guys need. And it's like the response to that was really positive, and it was really enjoyable for both of us, because it was more like, oh, we're actually a team here.
Yeah.
We're all teaching the same thing. We all want the same thing for you guys.
Yeah.
And then being able to see us as mates as well is really valuable.
Mm.
And so that was like a microcosm, I guess, of like going, how do we do that more intentionally and more, more part of the program. Hard out. But it's a tricky problem, especially when we're inheriting our timetable system, and it works, right? Like, there's a lot of kids you got to get through every day. There's good reasons for us being as siloed as we are. So I'm not quite sure I have all the answers on how to attack that yet,
It's so interesting. Yeah, it feels like we all have to adhere to this model. I like, every school is different, but there are some similarities across as well. Like literacy, numeracy, got to get a certain amount of, NCA is across. Yeah. Every school, most schools kind of teach for 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
There is the models, but it's interesting to me to hear from you kind of that the ecology of schools, right? Like, it's important for kids to be in class to learn, but it's also important for them to engage in other things within the school and things like that too. And there's lots of really strong learning kind of happening in those other spaces too, like the football team, and like the tree planting, and it's so interesting to hear how like that might also develop a teacher as well, and like getting involved in other things. Although we do say, like, while you're training and stuff like that, try not to get too involved in extracurricular stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's sort of tangential, but another thing that springs to mind if you talk about ecology is like, I mean, how many schools have we got in South Auckland? And we're all teaching learners with lots of similarities, lots of differences, but it's like even that ecology of working together is not really strong at the moment when it could be. I think the hard thing is because it requires a lot of initial investment with no outcomes, because the outcomes don't turn up for five years maybe, but it means we keep doing this inefficient siloed thing in the meantime.
And like the only interaction we have between schools quite often, like, I might be wrong here too, but like, it's the sports days, right?
100%. Yeah.
Like, and then we create these rivalries between these weird lines and kind of where you end up going to school.
Which is useful to a point, but hard out.
Do you think there's room to do more community stuff across schools and things like that as well?
Massively. I think, again, starting from a teaching point of view, I mean, there's just no reason. And again, like, it's on me. I have the ability to do this if I put time into it, in terms of reaching out to other physics teachers in my area. What's your program? How do you teach it? What are your challenges? What are your resources? Can I give you some of mine? Can you give, And so you start from there, and then you go, oh, well, your school's got this cool piece of physics equipment. Can our kids come to your school for a period and do this practical, But, because we're all busy and we're all human and we all need to go home sometimes, I guess it's kind of at the bottom of the priority list often, making those connections. Because, again, relationships aren't immediately fruitful, right? it's not like I reach out to someone, now my kids have all got 3 credits at excellence level.
Yeah.
It's like it's going to take a while, and not all of those relationships are going to be fruitful. So, yeah, I think that's the difficult thing with it.
Yeah. The partnerships between schools is really interesting. Like, it makes me think of Waioria and Western Springs and how they kind of share the 2 different schools, but the same school, kind of sharing a campus and the resources in between. And then I wonder about how we might do that with schools, the schools that have lots and the schools that, could use more. I wouldn't say it has left, have less.
No, hard out, bro. And look, we share a fence with Kings.
Yeah.
Right? So it's in your face every day.
Yeah.
And again, it's like we've got some preseason footy games against them next year, which is wicked, but that is the extent of the engagement we have at the moment, I just think kids from both sides would benefit from.
Yeah.
I mean, as I would have at school, frankly, right? Because in some ways I was like a King's kid, and part of me getting into teaching was realizing that I had this massive deficit of empathy, of understanding, of knowledge and ways of viewing the world. I was missing out on all this richness because I'd been siloed in one world. And so it's got to be a good thing for, not easy, but a good thing if they kind of mix it up
Bring
a bit
those
more.
walls down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's use the King's Fields.
Hard out, bro.
Let's start there. Yeah. Can we use your field for football training?
Like I said, they've been very good to us about some preseason games.
Nice.
So it's good.
That's cool.
We're getting started on it.
Cool. Hey, I wanted to ask you about any funny stories you might have had at school. Yeah, with your young people. You also no names?
Yeah, sure.
We don't want to call anyone out or anything like that. But.
So I'd say my first one, embarrassing one, was my first year. And I had a year 12 class, and most of them were Tongan girls. And I was like, first year, I was trying to, get my reo Māori in there and stuff like that. And they weren't the most animated class. Trying to encourage them. And so at the end of one lesson, I said, they'd done quite well. So I said, awesome mahi today, girls. Awesome. And they all started giggling.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey. And then they walked out because they were too shy to tell me. And then I did some research. And of course, I found out that mahi in Tongan is underwear.
Yeah.
But we had a laugh about it the next time I saw them. But I was just crack up. It was the epitome of the well-intentioned young teacher with no clue.
Yeah. Lost in translation.
Literally, but that was kind of crack up. And then the other one I got a bit of stick for when I started was I used to just be the football ref because they already had a coach. And I swear I just had a really bad ingrown toenail. Like I couldn't even wear shoes.
Yeah.
Like I'd wear sandals all day and then put shoes on just to go to the meeting, just in case, management saw me wearing sandals around. And so but I still had to ref. So I was like, whatever, I'll just run around in bare feet. Like poor old Otahu who's been, made to look even, sort of more out of it than people think. And then people started asking if I needed shoes bought for me and stuff. And they gave me Umpire of the Year award.
Nice.
So that was all good.
You got to do what you got to do to get those awards and things like that.
Hard out. Yeah, exactly. So those are probably some funny moments from my first year.
Yeah, nice. It sounds like you've had quite a journey, even though you've only been in school for 3 years. Kind of out of school, I don't know how long. Let's not give away too much in our podcast, but sort of like what's on the cards for you next? Like, where do you see yourself kind of moving to in the next little while?
Certainly in the near future. I think my ngāko is pretty committed to Otahu. Just because I think it takes a few years to get a sense of, it's taken me a few years to get a sense of the school and the kids and the adults and get into a position where I can start to make a little more systemic change. So rather than just changing my classroom, it's like once you've built relationships with others, you've got an opportunity to influence and be influenced by a whole lot of other people's practice, and that's really exciting. And I guess I want to be around for a couple of years to reap the benefits of that, and the benefits for our learners, I think, because a lot of people at our school too, it is sort of like, they go there, do their training, and then move to somewhere a little more convenient, a little more central or whatever. So it's important that some of us stick around. But beyond that, honestly, I only plan 1 year in advance. Like I said, I fell into teaching. I think my only sort of requirements for the future are that I'm doing something where I feel all lined up values-wise and stuff. And so may not be in the education space specifically, but I think if I'm encountering people who have different perspectives, and if I'm serving people, then within reason, the rest works itself out. It's my naive 26-year-old view of the world.
Yeah.
I'll update you at 30 when I'm sad and
when
cynical.
It all comes crashing down. Nice. Yeah. This is the Lesson Learned podcast, right? And so I think one of the things really important to us are the lessons that you've kind of learned. Even at 26, I think you've got a wealth of experience now after 3 years at Otahuhu. It's still lots to learn for sure. But I guess like if you could give a message back to 16-year-old Liam, or to our young people, kind of like, I think there's been some interesting themes that we've touched on, in terms of getting up there and experiencing other communities and things like that. But what do you think might be a message for our young people in today's world?
I think two things. I think the first thing I'd say is that teachers always know. You're not sneaky or subtle or whatever. They always know, within seconds. You got your phone out.
Yeah.
You got your vape out. You got your whatever.
Yeah,
you can spot it from a mile away. But we also love a trier. So, good on you, just quietly. And then the other thing is like, just like learning's not trying to eat you. Like learning is for everyone, and I guess learning is the most nourishing, in my view, thing you can get onto. It doesn't matter what it is, like I have flatmate who's a Sparky, and I don't understand anything he does, but it's freaking cool.
Yeah.
And it's like if you could just stop long enough to see that learning is a hope and a future, and something that'll sustain you. Well, if I look at adults, old people I respect, they're still learning.
Yeah.
They're still on that buzz, then I guess that'd be my my attempts at wisdom.
Yeah. Nice. Nah, man, there's massive words and massive message. Thank you so much for spending the time with us and kind of sharing your journey and things like that. And we look forward to things happening in the future. We look forward to winning that. What is that? South Auckland football A grade.
Hard out. You know it.
Yeah. It's good. Cool. Thank you, Liam.
Kia ora, Billy.
See you.